And welcome back to English with Lucy. Before we start today's lesson, I've got a question for you. Can you understand what I'm saying? And I really hope you said yes, because I often read comments on my videos saying things like, I can understand you perfectly, but I can't understand my co-workers. Or, why can I understand you, but I have to watch British series and films with subtitles? Well, in today's lesson, I'm going to explain why you have so much difficulty understanding native speakers, and I'll give you some tips to help you overcome these. Okay, let's get started with the lesson. Tip number 1. Understand that spoken English is different from textbook or school English. This is a really important concept to understand. It's going to help you so much. Now, simply put, the English that native speakers use in everyday life is generally very different to the English that you learn at school. I'm talking about casual, everyday type English that you'd use in daily conversations. Now, I'll admit it, when I speak in my YouTube and course videos, I do speak at a slightly slower pace. I choose my words carefully, and I make sure that my register is suitable for English learners. I want you to be able to understand each word I say. But most native speakers you meet on the street will not necessarily have this same mindset, or they might not be as able to change their register to adapt to learners of English. Take my mother, for example. Many years ago, I had a Spanish boyfriend who didn't speak English, and watching my mother try to talk to him was pretty hilarious. She was using idioms, phrasal verbs, dropping her T's, messing around with the pronunciation, and the poor guy stood no chance for a number of reasons, and not just when it comes to understanding my mother. Here are some examples of how spoken English and textbook English might differ from a grammar standpoint. There are certain tenses and grammatical structures that are far more commonly used in written English than they are in spoken English, like the passive voice, which is a grammatical construction used to emphasize the action or object rather than the subject or doer. It's often preferred in academic writing, formal reports, and professional documents. For example, the decision was made by the committee. Sticking on the topic of grammar, you may have been taught that you shouldn't end sentences with prepositions. Well, I'm here to tell you that native speakers do it all the time. It might be confusing to hear a random preposition at the end of a sentence, but trust me, it's really common. Like in this example, who are you going with? It honestly sounds way too proper to say, with whom are you going? Obviously, if you say it without the accent, with whom are you going, it sounds slightly less proper, but it sounds old-fashioned at best. Another example, it sounds way more natural to say, she didn't know who to give the gift to, rather than the textbook English version, she didn't know to whom to give the gift. I also want to point out that we tend to bend other rules a bit when speaking. For example, you might hear someone say, I haven't got any money, which is common in spoken British English. While in school, you're most likely taught to say, I don't have any money. Another example of this is in the expression, can't believe it, where we drop the subject and utilize the contraction of cannot. Obviously, you're taught in school to always include a subject, like I cannot believe it, but that doesn't always happen in conversation. Tip number 2, get feedback from trained, qualified professionals. If you're serious about truly mastering English, there really is no better way than one-on-one sessions with a qualified professional. Trying to progress without feedback is really bloody hard. Tip number 3. Native speakers don't articulate. This is the topic of connected speech. So one of the things I'm sure you'll pick up on while listening to British content or in conversations with your language talk tutor or native English speaking friends is that we love to squish our words together and get information out as quickly and efficiently as possible. And this is known as connected speech, which refers to the way words are linked together in natural, fluent speech. Now, there are several key aspects of connected speech that you need to be aware of. And I'm not going to go too deep into this right now, but I want you to be aware of certain features you will definitely hear in spoken British English. We'll start with elision. Elision is the omission or leaving out of certain sounds in speech, often to make pronunciation more efficient and fluid. In British English, the most common example is the dropping of the final t sound in words like not, but, and what. For example, I don't know might be pronounced as I don't know. No t sound to be found there. Assimilation. Assimilation occurs when a sound changes to become more like a neighbouring sound. In British English, this often happens with the t and d sounds when followed by a y sound. T and y often sounds like ch, and d and y often sounds like j. For example, got you, got you. Would you, would you. Now this one is really fun. The intrusive R. In British English, an R sound is sometimes inserted between two vowel sounds to make the transition smoother. And this is particularly common in non-rhotic accents, such as received pronunciation or modern received pronunciation, my accent. For example, law and order may be pronounced as law and order. I've inserted an R sound that isn't meant to be there, but I've put it there because it's easier for me. Now, as well as the intrusive R, we also have the linking R. And this is really similar, but it occurs when a word ending in the letter R is followed by a word beginning with a vowel sound. In non-rhotic accents, the R is pronounced to connect the two words. For example, far away may be pronounced as far away, far away. Far on its own, no R sound, but when followed by a word starting with a vowel sound, far away, it's just natural to put it in there. And let's look at weak forms. In connected speech, certain words are often pronounced with a reduced or weak form. And this is particularly common with function words such as prepositions, articles, and auxiliary verbs. For example, to may be pronounced as t, and may be pronounced as n. So that was a very quick overview. We do have more videos on connected speech. It is actually one of my favourite topics. Understanding how frequently connected speech is used will go a long way in improving your comprehension skills. Let's move on to tip 4, contractions and unique language features. I feel like contractions go hand in hand with connected speech. Contractions, as I have talked about in previous videos, refer to the shortening of words by combining two or more words, there are sometimes triplets in there, together. This process involves omitting certain letters and replacing them with an apostrophe. In spoken English, native speakers pretty much always use contractions. For example, we don't say, I am from England. We say, I'm from England. I'm is the contraction there. Here are some common contractions. We have I'm, you're, we're, there, he's, she's, it's, I've, you've, we've, they've, I'll, you'll, we'll, they'll, can't, didn't, won't, coulda, woulda, shoulda, let's, there's, that's. I could go on forever about contractions, and maybe I should. Let me know if you want a focused video on contractions. Now we also have informal contractions, which combine two or more words into shorter words, but they are quite informal and they're used in very casual conversations. Like in this sentence, I have to go to the shops if you want to come, rather than I have to go to the shops if you want to come. These kinds of informal contractions are extremely popular and tend to cause a lot of confusion for English learners. So the more familiar you become with them, the quicker your listening skills will improve. Here we have some very common ones like useter, kinda, lotsa, coulda, Ida, she'da, howja, and whatja. Final tip, learn idioms and slang. If you want to understand native speakers, this is unavoidable. As English learners, I'm sure you were taught to speak in a very direct form of English to say exactly what you mean, but unfortunately, native speakers don't often speak in such a way. We tend to use a lot of slang and idioms because it adds colour and character to what we're trying to say, and I'm sure you do the same in your native language. I know I said that connected speech is one of my favourite things to teach, but I actually think that idioms and slang is too. I can't decide, so I won't. I'll just enjoy them both. Slang and idioms are often used to express ideas or emotions in a more creative and nuanced way than standard direct English, but this also tends to make it challenging for English learners to understand. Here are some very common slang terms that you will most likely encounter in daily conversation. Grub, food, particularly pub food or unhealthy food, food that fills you. Lurgy, an unspecified mild illness or feeling unwell. It's like a general cold. Oh, I've got some sort of lurgy. Dab hand. If you're a dab hand at something, you are skilled or proficient at something. Fit. this is used to mean attractive, rather than just physically fit, which it means in normal English, in slang English. If I say you are so fit, it means you are so attractive. We also have merry or tipsy, meaning slightly drunk, while wasted or pissed signifies being heavily intoxicated. Be careful, because pissed in British English means heavily drunk, and pissed in American English means angry. In British English, we tend to say pissed off, a phrasal verb. One of my favourites, I use this all the time, knackered. If you are knackered, you are extremely tired. I also like to say chuffed, which means very happy or pleased or kind of smug and satisfied. I'm chuffed with my exam result. Right, that's it from me. That's it for today's lesson. I really hope these tips help you.